I still remember the sound of my phone vibrating against the cold hospital table. My hands were shaking. My face burned with pain. And while the nurse wrapped fresh bandages around my arm, I looked down at the message from my brother. Not a single word asking if I was okay. Not one sentence asking what happened. Just 6 words. Stay away from us for now. I stared at that message until the screen blurred. That was the moment something inside me broke, because the woman who hurt me, the woman who left me bruised and bleeding in the parking lot outside my own apartment, was his fiancée, and my brother chose her over me, over his own sister. But to understand how everything fell apart, you need to understand who my brother used to be. My name is Elena. I'm 32 years old, and for most of my life, my older brother Marcus was my safest place in the world. After our parents died in a car accident when I was 16, Marcus became everything. He wasn't just my brother anymore. He became my protector. My emergency contact. My support system. The person who stayed awake helping me study for exams. The person who worked double shifts so I could afford college. When I cried over heartbreaks, Marcus brought ice cream. When I doubted myself, Marcus reminded me who I was. Everyone used to say we were inseparable, and honestly, we were. Even after we became adults, we still had Sunday dinners together. We still called each other almost every day. People envied our bond. Sometimes I thought nothing could ever destroy it. Until Veronica entered our lives. The first time Marcus introduced her to me, she smiled so sweetly that I almost felt guilty for disliking her instantly. She was beautiful in a polished kind of way. Perfect hair, perfect makeup. Perfect little laugh. But there was something in her eyes that made me uncomfortable. Like every smile was carefully measured. Like every reaction was calculated. Still, Marcus looked happier than I'd seen him in years. So I ignored my instincts. At first, Veronica acted like she adored me. She brought me coffee. Complimented my clothes, called me the sister she never had. But little things started happening. Tiny moments, easy to dismiss. She'd make passive comments about my career. Oh, Elena still rents. That must be stressful at her age. Or she'd laugh when Marcus praised me. She sounds perfect. Are you sure she's real? The comments always came wrapped in sweetness. And Marcus never noticed. Or maybe he didn't want to. Over time, things became worse. Veronica hated when Marcus spent time with me. If we had lunch planned, she suddenly needed him. If he called me, she would interrupt. Slowly, the brother who once answered my calls immediately started replying hours later. Then days later, I told myself it was normal. People change when they fall in love. But deep down, I knew something else was happening. One night, Marcus invited me to dinner at their apartment. I brought dessert. I even stopped at Veronica's favorite bakery. I wanted peace. I wanted us to feel like family. But halfway through dinner, Veronica looked directly at me and said, "You know, Marcus worries about you a lot." I frowned. "What do you mean?" She took a sip of wine. "Well, you depend on him emotionally, more than most sisters would." The room went silent. I laughed awkwardly. I think that's called being family. But Veronica only smiled. A grown woman should probably build her own life. Eventually, I looked at Marcus, waiting for him to defend me. He did and single quotes T. Instead, he rubbed his forehead. Veronica's just saying maybe we all need healthier boundaries. That sentence hurt more than I expected, because for the first time in my life, my brother sounded like a stranger. After that dinner, things changed quickly. Marcus stopped inviting me over. Veronica became colder, and rumors started spreading through our family. Apparently, I was jealous of Veronica. Apparently, I was emotionally unstable. Apparently, I was trying to sabotage their relationship. None of it was true, but lies repeated enough times start sounding believable. Especially when someone charming tells them. Then came the engagement party. The night everything exploded. I almost didn't go. Something inside me kept warning. Emmy, but Marcus personally called and asked me to come. I want my sister. There, he said softly. So I went. I bought an expensive gift. I wore my best dress, and I promised myself I would survive one evening. The party was held at a rooftop restaurant downtown. Everyone looked happy. Everyone except Veronica. Every time Marcus spoke to me, her jaw tightened. Every time someone complimented me, she became colder. I tried avoiding her, but near the end of the night, she cornered me near the elevators. You really enjoy making yourself the center of attention, don't you? She whispered. I stared at her. What? She stepped closer. You act innocent, Elena, but I know exactly what you're doing. I honestly have no idea what you're talking about. Her expression darkened. You want Marcus dependent on you forever. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. That's my brother, and yet you can't let him go. I turned to walk away. Then suddenly, she grabbed my arm. Hard. Pain shot through my shoulder. Don't walk away while I'm talking to you. I pulled back instantly. Let go of me. But instead of stopping, Veronica shoved me. Hard. My heel slipped, and suddenly I was falling. I hit the marble floor beside the elevator so violently that my head slammed against the wall. Everything blurred. People screamed. Someone ran toward me. And the last thing I saw before darkness swallowed me was Veronica crying, not because she felt guilty, but because Marcus was holding her. Not me. When I woke up in the hospital, I learned I had a concussion, bruised ribs, and torn ligaments in my wrist. But the physical pain wasn't the worst part. The worst part came when Marcus arrived. He didn't hug me. He didn't ask if I was okay. Instead, he stood near the door looking exhausted. Veronica says you pushed her first. I stared at him, completely speechless. She attacked me. I whispered. Marcus looked away. She's been under stress. Under stress. Those words shattered something inside me forever. And then came the text. Stay away from us for now. That night, lying alone in a hospital bed, I realized something terrifying. I had lost my brother, but what I didn't know that night was that Veronica had secrets capable of destroying everything. And eventually, those secrets would find their way to me. People imagine revenge as screaming. As public humiliation. As dramatic destruction. But real revenge, sometimes it's much quieter. Sometimes revenge is surviving long enough to watch the truth expose itself. Months passed. My bruises healed. My wrist slowly recovered. But emotionally, I was still rebuilding myself. I started therapy, not because I was weak. But because pain that deep changes your nervous system. It changes the way you trust. The way you love, the way you see yourself. At first, therapy felt uncomfortable. Talking about betrayal made everything feel real again. But eventually, something powerful happened. I stopped asking, why wasn't I enough? And started asking, why did I tolerate being treated that way? That shift changed everything. For years, I believed loyalty meant enduring pain silently, protecting relationships at any cost. But healthy love doesn't require self-destruction. And family should never mean accepting emotional cruelty. Meanwhile, Veronica's world continued falling apart. More people confronted her. Former friends reached out to Marcus with stories almost identical to mine. Manipulation. Isolation. Lies. Control. One woman admitted Veronica spread rumors that destroyed her engagement. Another said Veronica intentionally created fights between family members for attention. The pattern became impossible to ignore. One afternoon, Marcus told me something that stayed with me forever. You know what scares me most? He asked. What? I became someone I don't recognize. That's the terrifying thing about manipulation. It rarely arrives looking dangerous. It arrives looking charming. Loving. Protective. Then slowly reshapes reality. And by the time victims notice, They've already betrayed pieces of themselves, including the people they love most. About a year after the hospital incident, I unexpectedly saw Veronica again. I was leaving a bookstore downtown when I noticed her across the street. For a moment, my heart started racing. Old fear returned instantly. But then I noticed something strange. She looked different. Not physically. Emotionally. Her confidence seemed cracked. Her expression restless. She saw me and for a second, we simply stared at each other. The old version of me might have wanted confrontation. An apology. Justice. But standing there, I realized something important. She no longer had power over me. Not emotionally. Not mentally. Not anymore. And honestly, that felt bigger than revenge. She started walking toward me slowly. Part of me wondered if she would apologize. Instead, she stopped a few feet away. You turned him against me, she said coldly. I almost laughed. Even after everything, she still couldn't take responsibility. No, I replied calmly. You did that yourself, for the first time ever. She had no response. No manipulation. No control. Just silence. Then she walked away, and strangely, I felt nothing. Not anger, not hatred. Just peace. Because healing changes you. The need for revenge disappears once you reclaim yourself. Marcus and I still aren't exactly who we used to be. Trauma leaves scars, but scars are proof that wounds closed. Today, our relationship is honest in a way it never was before. We communicate better, we set boundaries, we protect trust carefully, and most importantly, we no longer ignore red flags just to keep peace. A few months ago, Marcus visited me for Sunday dinner again, just like old times. At one point he looked around my apartment and smiled sadly. I almost lost you forever, he said. I nodded quietly. Yeah, you almost did. The truth hurt, but honesty matters, and healing built on truth lasts longer than fake harmony. Sometimes people ask me if I regret forgiving him. The answer is complicated. Forgiveness doesn't erase pain. It doesn't erase consequences, and it definitely doesn't mean pretending nothing happened. Forgiveness simply means refusing to carry poison forever. I forgave Marcus because I saw genuine accountability. Not excuses, not blame, real accountability. And that's rare. As for Veronica, I don't hate her anymore because hate keeps people emotionally connected, and I finally learned how to let go. But I'll never forget what she taught me. Some people enter your life pretending to love, but what they truly want is control. And the most dangerous people are often the ones who smile the sweetest. If there's one lesson this entire nightmare taught me, it's this: never ignore the first moment someone makes you question your worth. Never shrink yourself to protect someone else's ego. And never confuse loyalty with silence, because real love never demands your destruction. Real family never asks you to suffer quietly. And real healing begins the moment you choose yourself. That hospital text once shattered me. Stay away from us for now. At the time, it felt like losing everything. But now, I realize it forced me to rebuild my life with stronger boundaries, stronger self-respect, and stronger understanding of who truly deserves access to my heart. Sometimes, the worst betrayals reveal the most important truths, and sometimes surviving the pain becomes the greatest revenge of all. Because in the end, I didn't destroy Veronica. The truth did, and I simply survived long enough to watch it happen. The weeks after the hospital felt unreal. I moved through life like a ghost. Every morning, I woke up expecting Marcus to call to apologize, to realize how insane the situation was. But the calls never came. Instead, silence grew between us like a wall. Our relatives slowly stopped contacting me too. I later discovered Veronica had been telling everyone I suffered from emotional outbursts, that I became obsessive whenever Marcus was in a relationship. The worst part? Some people believed her because manipulators rarely look cruel. They look calm, polished, convincing. Meanwhile, the real victim starts looking emotional and unstable from constantly defending themselves. I tried focusing on work. I worked remotely for a publishing company, editing manuscripts all day from my apartment. Normally, I loved it. But after everything happened, even opening emails felt exhausting. At night, memories replayed endlessly. The shove. Marcus defending her. That cold text message. Some nights I cried until sunrise. Other nights I stared at the ceiling completely numb. Then one afternoon, everything changed. I received a message request online from a woman named Camille. At first, I almost ignored it. But one sentence caught my attention. I think you're brothers. Fiancée lied about me too. My stomach dropped. We arranged to meet at a quiet cafe the next morning. Camille looked nervous when she arrived. She kept checking over her shoulder. Then she finally leaned closer. I dated Veronica's ex-boyfriend years ago, she whispered. I frowned. Okay. Camille swallowed hard. She destroys people who stop admiring her. Those words sent chills through me. For the next hour, Camille told me stories that sounded horrifyingly familiar. Veronica isolated her ex-boyfriend from friends, started rumors about people, manipulated situations, created fights, then played the victim. She's incredibly good at making others look unstable. Camille said quietly. My chest tightened. That's exactly what she did too. Emmy? Camille nodded. There's more. She opened her phone. And showed me screenshots. Messages. Voicemails. Evidence. Veronica mocking people behind their backs, laughing about manipulating emotions, bragging about controlling. Marcus. My hands shook while reading them. One message nearly stopped my breathing. He'll always choose me, even over family. I felt physically sick, but at the same time, something inside me awakened. For weeks I had blamed myself, questioned my memory, wondered if maybe I had somehow caused everything. Now I finally understood. I wasn't crazy. I was being manipulated, and so was my brother. But the hardest part came next. Because even with evidence, I still didn't know whether Marcus would believe me. A few days later, I gathered the courage to call him. He answered after the third ring. His voice sounded distant. What do you want, Elena? That sentence hurt more than I expected. Not hello. Not how are you. Just suspicion. I need to show you something. He sighed heavily. Veronica said you've been harassing people trying to ruin us. I closed my eyes. She lied. Long silence. Finally, he agreed to meet. We met at a small park near our childhood neighborhood. For a moment, seeing him standing there brought back memories of better days, but his expression remained guarded. I handed him the screenshots. He read them silently. Then his jaw tightened. This could be fake. My heart sank. Marcus, she told me you'd try this. I couldn't believe it. Even with proof directly in front of him, Veronica still controlled the narrative. You think I'd invent all this? I whispered. He looked exhausted. I don't know what to think anymore. That sentence destroyed me. Because once upon a time, my brother trusted me more than anyone. Now he looked at me like I was a threat. I left the park in tears, and that should have been the end. But fate had other plans. A month later, Marcus called me unexpectedly at 2 in the morning. I almost didn't answer, but something in me still cared, still hoped. His voice sounded broken. Elena, were you awake? Immediately I knew something was wrong. What happened? Silence. Then quietly, he said, I found messages. My chest tightened. Apparently, Marcus had borrowed Veronica's laptop while his phone updated. A message notification appeared. At first he ignored it. Then another appeared, and another. The messages weren't romantic. They were worse. Veronica had been mocking him, mocking Emmy, mocking his loyalty, calling him easy to control. One message said he'd abandon anyone for me. It's honestly pathetic. Marcus sounded shattered while telling. Emmy, I defended her against my own sister. He whispered. I closed my eyes. Part of me wanted to comfort him instantly, but another part remembered. Lying injured in that hospital bed, remembered his text, remembered feeling completely alone. What happens now? I asked quietly. She left. Apparently, when Marcus confronted Veronica, she didn't apologize. She became furious. Then, cruel, she blamed him, insulted him, and finally admitted she enjoyed turning people against each other because it made her feel powerful. Marcus sounded like a completely broken man for the first time in months. I heard my real brother again. Not controlled. Not defensive. Just devastated. But healing wasn't simple. Because betrayal changes relationships forever, even when forgiveness exists. Over the following weeks, Marcus tried rebuilding our relationship slowly. He apologized repeatedly, not with dramatic speeches, but with honesty. He admitted he ignored warning signs. He admitted he failed me. And for a long time, I didn't know whether I could truly forgive him. Some wounds don't disappear just because someone says sorry, especially wounds created by abandonment. Still, I saw genuine remorse in him. And deep down, I knew Veronica manipulated both of us in different ways. Meanwhile, karma finally reached Veronica. Apparently, several people from her workplace reported her behavior. Old friendships collapsed. Her carefully crafted image started cracking because eventually, people who survive manipulation start comparing stories. And once the pattern becomes visible, everything changes. One evening, Marcus came over carrying an old photo album. Pictures from our childhood. Us at the beach. Us eating birthday cake. Us laughing on Christmas morning. For the first time in months, we sat together without tension, without Veronica's shadow between. Marcus looked at me quietly. I don't expect you to trust me immediately, he said, but I'll spend the rest of my life earning it back. And somehow, that mattered more than perfect words, because accountability sounds different from excuses. And after everything we survived, honesty mattered more than pride.